This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina Lee.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, I am speaking with Laura O'Day. She is a senior care advisor for Assisted Living Locators here in the Charlotte area. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you. Good morning, Regina.
Good morning to you. So, as I was mentioning, this is a topic very near and dear to my family, and it's a world that you don't even know exists until you need it, and your services are amazing. So let's start with, how did you personally get into this business? What was your why?
Well, like a lot of people, I had a journey with my mom, who lived 2 states away, whose health started to fail. And I was working in a high-powered corporate job that had me traveling Monday through Thursday and trying to manage care for my mom. And you start to realize what you don't know. When people are in crisis and there's stress levels and you're trying to figure things out, it was difficult. And so I made a decision that I wanted to make a change in my life. I wanted to own my own business and started looking at things that I could be passionate about, and understanding what had happened with my mom led me to look at Assisted Living Locators, which is a franchise. My husband, Ken, and I purchased it 10 years ago and started our company here in Charlotte. But it was really my own personal journey in understanding how difficult for families it is to navigate figuring things out when you've got a loved one who needs help.
Absolutely. So tell us what you guys do at Assisted Living Locators.
So we work with families or individuals who are looking at making a transition from usually living in their own home. It could be for independent retirement living, assisted living, or memory care. And we work with the family to figure out, what their wants and needs are. Specifically, if it's assisted living or memory care, we focus on what the physical needs are that they need. We try to narrow it down to a geographic area that individual or family would like to remain in, and look at what their budget is. This can be a very expensive cost for families to look at this. So finding out what the budget is and helping them then figure out what are the top 3 or 4 places that might meet their needs. We then, work with them to go and tour the communities, make sure all the right questions get asked or answered, especially if you're stressed out over a recent occurrence with a loved one. You might not be thinking about all the important questions to ask. Help them negotiate pricing and just work as their advocate through the whole process. So it's a very personalized holding the hand through the process of figuring out that next best place to live.
Yeah, when my family was doing this for my dad, he had memory care issues. And like you said, as a family, you've never done this before. You just simply do not know what you don't know. So you guys, tell us how you get paid, because I know this was a big deal with my mother. And once we found out this, it was a game changer on how y'all helped.
Yes. Yeah, so we are a no-cost referral service for families. And of course, we do make a living doing this. So the way that we get compensated, I use the analogy, we're kind of like a senior realtor. If you're going out to buy a home and a realtor takes you out to look at homes, you don't pay them a fee to do that. But if you find one you want to buy, then the seller will pay the realtor a fee for bringing them a buyer. So we partner with multiple communities. We probably work with 70 communities in the area as a referral partner. So once we introduce a family to them that does decide, yes, this is going to be the best place for me or for my loved one to be, the community pays us a referral fee for introducing a new resident to them. So again, it's a no cost service for families to let us help you figure this out.
With the world, all of us baby boomers aging, there's a lot out there to choose from. So what sets your company apart from the other companies who do similar services?
Yeah, well, I think being local and being in these communities all the time, interacting with the staff there, we know if a community has had a new company come in and buy them and the ownership has changed. Did that make a difference in the care that's being provided there? If there is constant turnover of staff, that's kind of a red flag for us that something's just not right in that community. The other thing we do is we go out monthly to the state website and we check the ratings for each of these communities, deficiencies or penalties that may have been assessed against them in an inspection. And if we see a community that's had problems, they go off our list of referring. So just understanding how the community is providing care and if there are things going on under the surface that you as a family might not even know when you walk in that door, because they're going to present their best self to you, but we might know there's something going on under the surface that could affect care. So I think that makes a big difference in our personalized approach.
Is there any kind of assessment required before someone contacts you? I'm assuming, memory care or things like that. How does the process work once someone knows they need you?
Yeah, once they know they need me, yes, we will take a very detailed accounting of all of the information we need to know about what's going on, what the care needs are, because not all communities can meet that person's care needs. So then that's important for us to understand. Are they ambulatory? Can they stand and transfer on their own? Do they have certain medical conditions that take a more hands-on approach for care? All of those things come into consideration when we're looking at what community might be the best fit for them. So we do like to get as much information as we can up front, pretty detailed information, and that makes sure that we're recommending the right community and the right care for that individual.
What does care typically cost these days in the Charlotte metro area?
Yeah. On average, the starting cost for assisted living is somewhere around $4,500 a month, and that's just the base rate. Depending on the level of care that might be needed for that individual, they add care cost on top of that. So it could be an average of $6,000 to $7,000 total. For memory care, people who are suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, the average cost of care is going to be somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000 a month for that level of care.
Wow.
Yes.
So do you sit down, let's say as the child, I'm doing this for my parent.
Right.
How do you work with both? How does it go?
Oftentimes it is a child that we're first in contact with, who feels like either a parent needs to leave their home and move to independent retirement living and get rid of maintenance and other things, or there's been an occurrence. Someone fell and had an injury, and now mom or dad just can't go back home and live alone. So again, I think the empathy that I can feel for the stress level they're at that point, because I've been there. I had that same stress level with my mom, helps me kind of be that force that says, okay, let's just take a breath. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. I'm here by your side and I'm going to stay here and we're going to get you through this. And in addition to helping them find the right care place, we can refer them to resources to help clean out that attic that's got 50 years worth of stuff in it if you're selling a house. Help them arrange for movers to come in and get things moved to the new location. So, we're not just there to help them find the place, but we want to make this as easy a transition as possible for the family to make this change. And then we stay in touch with them afterwards to follow up and make sure everything's going okay. Are there any issues that they've run into? And we're going to continue to be there and step in if we need to help them resolve any additional issues that arise.
Yeah, because there's so many surprises when you start this process.
Sure.
You just made me remember, what things do we bring from home to set his room up,
Right.
and what do they provide, and do they dispense medicine, and all
Right.
those little things that you just don't know exist. That's
That's
amazing.
true. Yeah.
Well, it's just so important to have someone to be your advocate. So when you are then ready to show the family places,
Right.
are you literally in the car and driving around like a realtor? Tell us how that works.
Yes, absolutely. We go with them to each tour, and we make sure that the things that were most important to them in our fact finding are the things that we cover in that tour and that they get to see and ask questions about. I prompt them if they've forgotten something that maybe was important and that hasn't been mentioned. That's my job to bring it up and ask that community team member, hey, can you please tell Regina about this that I knew was important for you to know about that community? So yes, we're right there alongside them at every tour. We never send a family out to a community on their own. We want to be there as part of that team with them to help them through the process.
Yeah, and then the
And we
timing.
also know, communities sometimes will negotiate on rates or give a little discount here or there, and we want to negotiate those things for the families as well. Some communities give a discount if your loved one was a veteran, or if the family member, even a child, works for a large corporation. They have national agreements for discounts with corporations throughout the United States. So we want to make sure they get all those discounts. The other thing is, because this is so expensive for families, is we want to also be a great knowledge and resource for them on how you can pay for this care. If there are things like, if you're a veteran, the VA sometimes offers a benefit called the Veterans Aid and Attendance Benefit that can help pay for assisted living or memory care. So things like that we could help them figure out other ways to help pay for the care that they or a loved one might need. So that's
Absolutely. Yeah, you brought up a lot of things. What about if they're not ready to go to a facility? Do you help with in-home care options?
Absolutely. Yeah. What we want to make certain is, none of us, I think, really foresee ourselves moving into a community. And if asked, every senior I've ever worked with says, no, I want to stay in my home. That's normal. And the important thing is to stay safely in your home. So yes, if they're not ready to make that transition yet, we want to make sure that we can, again, refer them to great home care agencies that can come in and provide care in the home. We also can refer them to people who will come in and do a safety check in the home and make recommendations for things that might need to be changed to make it safer for them to remain in their home as long as possible.
That's amazing. Tell us what areas of Charlotte that your services you actually can cover.
So we really cover all of Charlotte, even up into the Lake Norman area, just across the border into South Carolina. There's Fort Mill and Rock Hill, and that's just a huge growing area for retirees. We also work over into Union County and Monroe. So pretty wide area that we cover. Additionally, because we are part of a franchise, there are people like us all across the country that if you have a loved one in another state that could use these kinds of services, we can put you in touch with our colleague in other states to provide that same insight into the communities in that area for you as well.
Excellent point. Hadn't thought of that. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to say? Any topic?
Well, again, just our biggest challenge, I think, as a small business owner is letting people know someone like us exists. I know for most of us, you go out on the internet and that's where we search for information first. And oftentimes you might get tied into an internet-based service that isn't going to provide that personalized approach that we're talking about. So just letting people know that we are out here and the level of passion we have about what we do is what gets us working with these families and just wanting to make sure that we take as much stress level off of you in a difficult time as we possibly can. So we would love the opportunity to, speak to organizations, get out there and spread our message about what we do and how we can help seniors and families in this area.
Well, as you mentioned in the touring, each facility has a personality because unlike a house that you're buying a house, this
Right.
is where your loved one is going to be interacting and living 24/7. And there is a difference from place to place. So with you
Yes, there
having
is.
that local knowledge and relationships it is so, so critical for then the family to be able to breathe and know they're in the right place.
Absolutely. And to have somebody to turn to in the
Yeah.
future if questions or issues come up. So yeah, that's what we love is the families that we serve.
Oh, I'm sure. So Laura, tell our listeners how they can reach you and find you.
Sure. You can reach us. We have a website that is Assisted Living Locators of Charlotte. Our partner, Mark Daly, is going to be prominently featured on our website. My husband, Ken, and I are the supporting cast for Mark and work with him closely. You can reach me personally at my number is 704-942-1867. Or email address is just first name Laura, Laura, at assistedlivinglocators.com.
Well, it is a process when you're placing your loved one, and this is a fabulous way to start. I can't tell you how you'll calm down and when someone's holding your hand through everything. I really appreciate this time today, Laura. I love what you do.
Thank you so much, Regina. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Sure. Hope to see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com or call 980-351-5719.